In a small town, amidst the humming crunch of leaves, lived Max. Since childhood, he had always sought comfort and security. He liked to think that life flowed smoothly, without unnecessary shocks and surprises. But one day, when Max was preparing for an important meeting, he learned that his business partner suddenly cancelled the agreement. A sense of unease swept over him, and he felt the world around him begin to crumble. At that moment, a wise man known in the city, who had always been known for his resilience and ability to cope with difficulties, was at his side. Seeing how Max was getting lost, the wise man sat down next to him and silently watched as he was floundering in his thoughts. Finally, he said, "Max, you are too dependent on what you cannot control. To meet difficulties, you need to prepare for them in advance." Max looked up and met the sage-ass gaze, full of calm and confidence. "Have you ever wondered how you can learn to be resilient to the blows of fate?" The sage continued. "There are habits that can change your life." Those words stuck in Max's mind. He had always thought that resilience was a gift that not everyone had, but now he wanted to know more. The sage began to talk about how important small workouts were in everyday life, how preparing yourself for hardships not only made it easier to overcome them, but also enriched your life. "Each of us can become stronger if we learn to control our emotions," he said with wise seriousness. Listening to the sage, Max felt his fears and doubts begin to recede, giving way to an inner desire to become a better person. The sage's words about life-changing habits gave him a new perspective. Max now worked much more efficiently than before. He lost emotional burnout. He started practicing his habits every day. He got used to getting up early to do more things. Most importantly, he started telling all his friends about these things. And here are some of them. The habits of detached observation. Don't react, observe. In life, it often happens that we find ourselves at the mercy of our emotions. We may be overwhelmed by anger, anxiety, or resentment. These feelings flare up instantly, and in that moment we feel like they are controlling us. We begin to act on autopilot, yelling, taking offense, reacting impulsively. But this is where the first step to self-control begins: detached observation. This is a powerful technique that teaches us to see emotions as something external, not as part of ourselves. What is detached observation? Detached observation is the ability to distance yourself from your thoughts and emotions, as if looking at them from the outside. It does not mean being indifferent or suppressing feelings. It means being aware of your emotions, but not letting them control your actions. As Epictetus taught, people do not suffer from things, but from the way they react to them. When an emotional storm arises, the goal is not to ignore it, but to become an observer. Imagine there are two voices inside you. One is your mind, which is calm and rational, and the other is your emotions, which are screaming and demanding immediate action. Detached observation is the ability to let these voices speak, but not make decisions based on their impulses. How do you develop the habit of detached observation? 1. Slow down your reactions. When a strong emotion arises, whether it is anger or fear, try not to act immediately. Take a pause. This can be a few deep breaths or a simple conscious thought. Right now I am feeling anger, but it is just an emotion. I can observe it and control it. 2. Become aware of your thoughts. In times of stress, our minds tend to dramatize what is happening. We begin to mentally inflate the situation, envisioning worst-case scenarios. Become aware of these thoughts and recognize that they don't always reflect reality. They are just your mind trying to protect itself from pain, but acting impulsively. 3. Separate the event and your reaction. One of the key aspects of Stoicism is being able to see the difference between the event itself and your reaction to it. For example, if someone insults you, it is just an event. Your feeling offended is your reaction to that event. As Marcus Aurelius said, everything depends not on what happens, but on how you react to it. Imagine that in a meeting your colleague publicly criticizes your work. Your first reaction is a sense of humiliation and anger. You may want to respond to the criticism with aggression, to defend yourself, to prove your point. But instead, you apply detached observation. You notice the tension in your body growing. Maybe your pulse quickens, your breathing becomes shallow. Instead of throwing yourself into a verbal altercation, you pause. You take a deep breath. You realize it as just your emotions, your resentment, your desire to defend yourself. But it as just a reaction. It doesn't have to dictate your actions. Through this pause, you find the calm within you and respond in a measured way without giving in to impulse. Maybe you calmly accept criticism, seeing it as an opportunity to improve. Or maybe later you discuss with your coworker his or her words in private. Either way, you haven't let your emotions take hold of you. Self-control is true freedom, because only when you own yourself are you able to make decisions that are in line with your goals, your values, and your mind. Whenever you feel emotions rolling in, remember, don't react, observe, and in that silence of observation, you will gain a strength that no one can take away from you. Start practicing this today, and you will see how even in the most difficult situations you will retain a deep calmness and confidence within you. The habit of controlling desires. Desire only what is up to you. Desires are what drives human beings. We constantly want something: success, recognition, wealth, love, attention, material goods. But this is where our weakness lies. When we begin to desire things that are beyond our control, we find ourselves at the mercy of external circumstances. The Stoic habit is to learn to desire only what is within our power. What does it mean to control desires? Our inner well-being depends not on what we have or what we can achieve, but on how we feel about it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Change your attitude toward things and they will change." This means that true happiness and peace of mind come not when we get what we want, but when we realize that not everything in the world is under our control. Focus on what is up to you. When you encounter a situation that triggers a desire, ask yourself, does it depend on me? For example, you want to be hired for a job, but can you control the employer's decision? No, you can. However, control how well you prepare for the interview, how you present yourself. Focus on your actions, not the end result. Reduce your attachment to results. When you want to accomplish something, ask yourself, what can I do on my own to get closer to it? And then accept the fact that the end result may not depend on you alone. When your desires aren't tied to outcomes you have no control over, you feel more freedom. Practice gratitude. Appreciate what you already have. Often our desires are driven by a lust to have more without paying attention to what we already have. For example, if you have a roof over your head, food, health, and people who support you, you already have a lot to appreciate. Practicing gratitude helps reduce the need for constant wanting. Make a habit of practicing resilience training. Prepare for the worst. In a world full of uncertainty, most people seek comfort and security. We often avoid difficulties and don't want to think about unpleasant things, hoping they won't happen. But the Stoics taught a very different approach. Instead of avoiding possible difficulties, we should actively prepare ourselves for them by training the mind and body. This is the practice of resilience to hardship. What does it mean to practice resilience? Stoicism is based on the idea that we can't control everything that happens around us, but we can control how we respond to it. And in order to meet life as challenges with dignity, we need to prepare ourselves for them in advance. Epictetus said, "Difficulties harden the soul as fire hardens iron." The habit of resilience training is to deliberately expose yourself to difficulties, even small ones, to prepare your mind and body for greater challenges. This helps develop not only physical endurance, but also mental toughness, which allows you to remain calm and collected even in the most difficult situations. Imagine you have an important presentation waiting for you at work. You start to worry that something might go wrong, equipment might malfunction, someone might ask a difficult question that you don't have an answer to, or your bosses might be unhappy. Instead of ignoring these fears, you practice Premedia Melum. You mentally visualize the worst-case scenario. Technology does break down and you are forced to present material without slides, or you are asked a difficult question. By living this experience in your head in advance, you begin to develop alternative strategies and solutions. For example, you prepare printed materials in advance in case your equipment breaks down, or you come up with a few backup answers to potentially difficult questions. When presentation day arrives, you feel more confident and relaxed because you were already prepared for any turn of events. The world is one of constant change and challenge. We can't control what will happen to us, but we can prepare ourselves for those events. When you consciously harden your mind and body, you become less dependent on external circumstances. Any unexpected difficulty ceases to be a shock because you have already prepared yourself for it in advance. When we train our resilience to difficulties, we not only learn to cope, but we also enrich our perception of life. As Marcus Aurelius said, pain is either a weakness of the body or a mistake of the mind. By developing the habit of overcoming small inconveniences and difficulties, we learn to be strong in the big challenges that life will inevitably bring us. Start small. Simple actions that temper your spirit and body will gradually lead you to an inner strength that no external circumstances can destroy. Each of us is the blacksmith of our own destiny, but it takes fortitude and clarity of mind to forge it. These 3 habits are not just theories, they are tools for survival in a world that constantly challenges us. They will help you gain self-control, overcome destructive emotions, and learn to look at life with a clear and calm heart. The sage Epictetus said, "It is not the one who has fallen who is defeated, but the one who has been unable to get up." We always face challenges, but it is only by managing our reactions, recognizing the impermanence of life, and analyzing our actions daily that we can not only rise up, but go further than we could have imagined. We live in a world that is constantly trying to drag us down, to destroy our inner peace, to throw us into chaos. But these 3 habits are a shield that protects us from waves of destructive emotions, from rash decisions, and from fear of the future. Take these tools and start applying them today. You will see your inner strength begin to grow, and the storm of emotions that once possessed you will become a quiet whisper that no longer has power over you. This is your path to inner freedom. It has time to go.